Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. To members of council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Did you want to declare conflict? No? Okay. All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the approval of council minutes. Looking for a mover and seconder to receive the minutes of the special meeting of council held August 18th. Councillor Wilkinson moves, supported by Councillor Dunn. Discussion on that motion. All in favor? And carried. And the same thing for the minutes of the council meeting held August 22nd. Looking for a mover and seconder. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Dunn. Discussion on that motion. All in favor? Carried. Now, is there any business arising out of those minutes? I see none, so we'll move on then to public meetings and court of revision. This evening we do have public meetings, mostly revolving around drainage. So Luann, I will let you take away the show.
The first one this evening tonight is for the Dreger Drain. It's a new petition. It is recommended that council receive the preliminary report prepared by R.C. Spencer and Associates dated June 1st for the new petition drain to be named Dreger Drain on Mercia Road 6 pursuant to Section 4 of the Drainage Act. After hearing from the landowners and the engineer, council provides direction to the engineer to provide a final report on either option 1 or option 1 plus option 2, and that all costs will be charged to the Dreger Drain account. As noted in the previous staff report in February, in 2014, landowners from 1944 Mercia Road 6, Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Rydell, applied for a building permit for a residential dwelling. During the review of the application, it was determined that the outlet for drainage was the Setterington Drain. On the map, which is right at the bottom, the blue line heading south. This new building lot was severed off of a farm parcel and thereby required a mutual drainage agreement with the agricultural landowner to allow access to that municipal drain. As an alternative, the builder proposed an outlet to the roadside ditch on Mercia Road 6. The builder was advised that the roadside ditch was not a legal outlet and must direct his water back to the Setterington Drain. The builder and the owner both felt it was not feasible to go through a bush lot to get drainage and asked for other options. Given that Mercia Road 6 experiences flooding and water over road conditions in this area, and that a number of the landowners already outletted to drainage tile or the open ditch along the north side of Mercia Road 6, there was an opportunity for improvements to this drainage, maintenance, and road safety. Therefore, council appointed R.C. Spencer to review the petition and prepare a preliminary drainage report. The engineer has completed his report and has forwarded it to council for your consideration. Following the review and survey as contained in the engineer's report, the engineer had provided two options to consider. The first, construct a new municipal drain along the alignment of the roadside ditch, which exists on the north side of Mercia Road 6, then crossing to the south side between municipal addresses 2000 and 1944, with an open ditch westerly to 1940. An additional consideration to provide a branch drain extending the north side of Mercia Road 6 to the Thiessen property at 600 County Road 37. That's noted in the pink line above Mercia Road 6. The second option considered was to do nothing. It is the opinion of administration that the do-nothing option will not solve any issues in this area and should be discounted. To address the drainage needs presented in the background section, administration supported the first option described above. The additional consideration of the branch drain as described would primarily benefit the Thiessen property at 600 County Road 37. As the owner of 600 County Road 37 had no preference in support of or against the branch drain, administration is not recommending that the additional branch drain described in the first option at this time. If the owner does wish to construct this drain at a later date, those works can be added to the report. If council directs the engineer to complete the final report and it is adopted, and constructed, a new assessment schedule will also be required on the Setterington drain to remove these lands from that drain, since they no longer drain to it. A significant share of the cost to construct the proposed drain will be assessed to Hydro One, noted as item 4 in the engineer's report. Under Section 26 of the Drainage Act, that allows the municipality to charge costs to a utility company if their infrastructure affects drainage. In this case, the engineer has determined that the drain needs to be wider. Therefore, the existing hydro poles will be considered in the final design, either relocating the existing poles or installing culverts at each hydro pole location for stability, and there's approximately 8 of them. The project budget for design and construction considered a much smaller scope. Now that the preliminary report is complete, the recommended solution identified, the engineer will proceed with more detailed design, costing, and cost estimations. Construction will not occur in 2016, thus estimated construction costs will be included in the 2017 or subsequent budget. The engineer has provided the preliminary report for council's consideration. It is administration's opinion that option 1 is the preferred option and recommends that R.C. Spencer prepare the final report for consideration. If the landowners request option 2 to proceed, administration will also support this request. So the project was noted in the 2016 budget. However, the estimates were over than what the budget amounts were. Luz Arlinga from R.C. Spencer is here to answer any technical questions or speak to landowners' concerns if there is any.
Thank you very much, Lan. So before we proceed, I'm going to ask council again if there's a declaration of conflict of interest.
For those of us not listening the first time around, yes, I do have a conflict. I won't
With
be
this item, okay.
speaking on this item or voting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So, question, Councillor Wilkinson? Oops.
I'm being advised I should likely
Declare conflict as
declare
well?
conflict as well.
Okay, thank you. So, before we go to the public, are there any questions to Luann and our engineer in regard to this report? If not, then are there members of the public here to speak to council in regard to this report? And I would invite you to come forward, state your name. No, I need you to come up, right up. Oh, yeah. You get to be on camera and the microphone and everything. It's very exciting. Just right over here. So I just need your name and your address and
Irwin Rydell, 1944 Mercier Road 6, Wheatley. My biggest concern is that the Derbyshire drain needs to be cleaned. I think that will alleviate a lot of the flooding. I've walked it. It's in horrible condition. The culvert has to be half full before it flows. So that is my biggest concern, is the Derbyshire drain being cleaned. Would it be nice if we had a municipal drain on the other side of the road? Yes, it would, because we have huge farms that are draining into the roadside ditch, and my property was used as a floodplain. When these lots were severed, supposedly drainage was supposed to be supplied, but that slipped under the radar, and it was never supplied. It was administration before you guys, so I can't give you shit.
okay,
So anyway, that's
where you are.
all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep, thank you very much. So, Luann, I'll come back to you to answer any questions that you can.
Sure. I think he was referring to the Derbyshire drain, not the Dreger drain, that he wants cleaned out. Yes. Yes. That contract has already been let go. The contractor should be starting within the next few weeks.
That's the Derbyshire drain.
That's the Derbyshire
Right.
drain that outlets all the way down by East Mercia School and then goes down Road 21 to,
And that ties into this report that we're talking about
this will
right
be the
now?
very top end.
Yes,
You'll
okay.
see on the right-hand side of this page, that's the Derbyshire drain.
Right.
That this drain will outlet to.
Okay.
So there is a good 2 feet of sediment in it, and he is correct, it does need to be cleaned out, and it will be. As to his comment about those lots were supposed to be serviced, when we sever lots, we don't sever them serviced. We sever them with an outlet, with a legal outlet. And we did actually get a mutual drain agreement for that lot to outlet to the Setterington Lane drain. So technically, it is serviced. He would just have to get his water to that drain.
Okay.
So,
Further to that then, if we were using his land as a floodplain, by cleaning the Derbyshire drain and doing these other adjustments we're doing, is that going to take care of that problem for him?
it should, definitely.
Should?
Yeah. The drain out front of his house was always plugged up, and the drain across the road, which is existing roadside, the farmer last year or 2 years ago had that drain cleaned out
Okay.
somewhat to get the water moving.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience that wants to address council?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name's Len Dreger, 1934 Road 7, Wheatley. So I'm the owner of a couple of the properties that we're talking about, and I'd like to give a little bit of history to this whole issue. Probably the last 70 years, we've been maintaining the proposed Dreger drain. Since there's now been residences or severed lots that have come about, and they were supposed to go to the Setterington drain. All of that water drains to the south. So the proposal we're talking about, we're actually going to go uphill from Irv's property. We're going to cross the road back to the Dreger drain proposal. That's really against stream. Now, I'm okay with this. I'm making a point that initially the properties were to be drained to the Setterington drain. And since the builders thought, hey, it's easier to go the other way, that's what we should do. So, well, wait a minute. Then now you're incurring huge costs on our shoulders. There probably are ways to accept this. I've just been in discussion with Jim. So I guess my question is there going to be an answer? Like, do we have to come up with an answer tonight, whether it's going to be yes, no, option 1 or option 2? Our questions are, on the option 2, what would be the assessments? And we actually, on looking at it further, the south part that is going to be open cut to the Setterington drain, we're now wondering if it isn't beneficial to extend that open cut right up to Jim's property, which would be on the south side of the concession 6. Now, that was never discussed before, or we didn't consider it, but I'm asking if we shouldn't to help alleviate Jim's drainage problem at a far less cost, overall cost.
Okay.
The option 2 is quite extensive in the tune of $65,000, which just seems, just out of line for the cost to do the job. Perhaps an open cut on the other opposite side of the road could help alleviate the problem.
Okay.
On the south side, yes.
So Luann, do you want to attempt to address those questions?
Option 1 would just be extended more to the west. So, do you want to answer that? That it can be done as part of our option?
Mr. Mayor and Council, the answer to that is yes, it can be managed to operate properly. We extend it slightly to the west.
Is this the open cut that we're talking about, or?
It's the open cut.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Dreger was asking about when to expect the cost assessments and those kind of things. That's a little bit in the future, I would guess, on past history.
Well, right now we've prepared some estimates of option 1, option 2.
Yep.
We didn't anticipate any additional work. If And again, this is a preliminary report. The the final report would have all of that information, and we can, by all means, get together with Len and indicate exactly what he needs and proceed if council would go with the final report.
Okay. Answer your questions, Len?
Yes, those are the two main questions. I guess initially on the option 2, like when it talks of 65,000, but only talking about Dreger and Thiessen, would that then be incurred by the two of us?
Yes. Yes, it will. There's nobody else that would drain into it.
Okay.
And what about the town?
Is there assessment for our road drainage?
Yes.
They wouldn't drain into it. There would be very slight areas where the boulevard would drain, but it'd be minimal.
There'd be road runoff. There would be a catch basin there that would be in town property that would, drain the road.
And that would be probably included in the final report, would it not?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yes, we have prepared a very preliminary detail of the costs for option 1. It's on the very back page of the report. That would be for the open drain, mind you. We did not prepare a preliminary schedule of assessment for the option 2, which would be the tile drain.
Okay. So Luann, looking for direction from you then, what can council expect in regard to the questions that have been asked tonight and additional requests?
Okay. What I'm clarifying is that
Just need the microphone on.
that option 2 is not an option, that option 1 be extended to the west,
That's your recommendation to
Yes.
council tonight?
that our final report will be brought back with that information.
Okay, so if we pass that recommendation tonight, is everybody locked in regardless of what the final report says, or?
Yes. So basically in item number 2, you were just adopting the report for option 1 of the recommendation. And that the engineer would review further.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
may. The extension of the option 1 would actually be a very good municipal drain. It would gather more of the surface water in a much better fashion. There would be some additional costs. We might run into some additional hydro poles that have to be protected. Again, we would use Section 26 of the Drainage Act, wherein the costs for those protective devices would be charged to Hydro One. They would pay for the entire cost of that. And additionally, there would be some additional cost to the municipality because they are now going to be draining into an extended open drain. Right now, the drain was anticipated to be about 700 lineal meters, and it'll probably end up being another 200 meters, perhaps.
Okay. So are there any further questions from council then? Councillor Jacobs?
Thank you, Worship. With option 2, I think your statement was that Mr. Dreger and the other landowner would be picking up the entire cost. Was that correct? So if you go to option 1, what would be his estimate on that? Was it more or less for those two particular properties?
I would say depending on how the engineer is going to take their water from the north side to the south side, they might have to put in another pipe. They would be assessed for that extension. But in the existing report, we're talking about installing a whole new tile drain through their properties.
And I guess where I was going with, would the option 1 be of a further burden or expense to Mr. Dreger, or is it cheaper to go with option one for Mr. Dreger? Is where I'm going.
We're already going with option 1 with an extension, you mean, versus adding in the option 2?
Correct.
Option 2 is just an additional. It's already existing, but it needs to be improved.
Yeah, I'm still trying to
I
figure out the
understand your
cost.
question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, I'm sure the assessments would all go up proportionately, but to extend this extension on the south side, which I should clarify, there are no hydro poles on the south side, to extend the drain would take in a few more properties. I'm thinking 3 more properties would be involved. Outside of that, no, it's a bush along that section that we're talking about, the extension.
Okay. Councillor Hammond?
Your worship, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Jacobs was hitting on the same question that I was looking at and try to mitigate some of the cost, Len, and I just wanted to follow up on that. Did you have an opportunity to meet with Spencer when they were there looking at this and to lay out your concerns initially and your recommendations?
We had a couple of meetings, and of course, questions were asked and answered, and until the report comes out, and then of course that brought on more questions, and now you see it on paper, and it's a little bit more clear, and now we're trying to do it right, I suppose.
What are council's wish? Oh, I'm sorry, I should go back to the audience. Is there anyone else here willing or wanting to address council on this issue? Sir? Or just, I'll give you just a minute here. We got somebody.
Yes, Jim Thiessen from County Road 37, 600. Just to affirm some of the information that Len has brought up.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Oh, sorry. Just to affirm some of the information that Len has brought up, to extend on the south side of the road to bring the ditch down, right down to where my culvert is, actually makes good sense. There's a lot of runoff that comes from the side of the 5th concession onto my property as well. It's kind of the low area that catches all this water. So, yeah, the situation to perhaps put this ditch, extend it, and perhaps that would be the best way to get water out of there. I think this ditch was originally to take water to the Setterington drain, which is halfway down, but that drain appears to be abandoned. If you look, you wouldn't know that there is a ditch there. There's trees and so on coming out of that bush, and you really have to look to see that there is a ditch or a drain there at all. So anyways, that's all I want to comment.
Okay. And Mr. Rydell, you wanted to come back up?
I just wanted to say that it wouldn't matter where I drained, my property would still flood because the water comes south across the road through the culvert instead of running east. So it wouldn't matter where I drained, and it's not my water that's causing the issue. I have 0.9 of an acre. I'm draining my eave troughs and my sump pump. That's
Okay.
it.
Yep.
And I would still flood whether I drained to the other drain or not, I would still flood.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks. Luann?
Sorry, I do want to clarify for Mr. Rydell as well that the town did recognize that the road had a drainage problem. That's why the road is the one that petitioned to start this project. Okay.
Okay. So help us wind this up then.
We are looking at number 2 of your recommendation,
Okay.
that the engineer provide a final report for option 1 with a further extension westerly on the south side.
Right. Council's wishes. Moved by Councilor Verbicki, supported by Councilor Dunn. Question, Councilor Hammond?
Worship, thanks again. Luann, then during that process, would you sit down with these landowners again, Len and some of the others, and discuss this further?
Yes, definitely the engineer will sit down with them and discuss if we've gone far enough, do we need to go further?
Okay,
etc.
thanks.
Okay, been regularly moved and seconded. All those in favor? And carried. Now, Luann, you're taking us on a little bit further to the next drainage issue.
This is for the Glanders Drain, West Branches. Again, this is a petition drain that was brought to you back in July of 2015. I'm not sure how much detail council would like me to get into at this point. There's been an issue with the mail. We did send this report out 2 weeks ago to the landowners. However, I'm getting feedback that they just received it on Thursday. And because it is a large assessment, it is a large report for these landowners, I don't feel comfortable bringing it to you to review. I would like to withdraw it tonight and bring it back at a later time.
Okay.
So would you like some information on it?
Well, let me just discuss this. So rather than motion to defer, they don't know when they're going to be able to bring it back, so they're just asking permission to withdraw.
Yes.
So do we need to hear any details on it at all? No, we're good? Withdrawn.
Okay. I'll just clarify that. That's the Glanders Drain. We're asking for withdrawal tonight. There
Okay.
is some landowners here, so.
Yep,
Okay,
understood.
thank you.
And then we're going to Reed Drain next.
Yes, this is the Reed Drain, West Branch, so section 65 for Undersun Acres, and an amendment to Palmas Farms and Orange Line Farms. These are all greenhouse developments that outlet to the Reed Drain. It is recommended that council adopt the engineer's report prepared by NJ Peralta Engineering, dated April 19th, 2016, for the change in assessment to the Reed Drain, West Branch, pursuant to Section 63 of the Drainage Act, and that council adopt the report prepared by Peralta dated May 18th, 2016, for a change of assessment to the Reed Drain. In previous council meetings, council adopted Section 65 report associated with an administrative report, DR 3711, for the Reed Drain, West Branch, Orange Line Farms, and Palmas. These reports are prepared to address changes in assessments or subsequent subdivision of lands. Undersun Acres is now in the process of obtaining approvals to proceed with developing greenhouses at 967 and 969 Highway 77, using the Reed Drain West Branch as their outlet. As part of their proposal, water for the property directly to the south will be cut off from the municipal drain along Mercia Road 10 and will be redirected to the Reed Drain along Highway 77. A separate engineer's report is being prepared to deal with that subsequent disconnection from the Reed Drain as well. With respect to the latest request from Undersun, Peralta had completed the review of the change of land use and alterations to the drainage area for all three sites, as shown on the attached Schedule A. Peralta has also confirmed the capacity of the municipal drain and provided changes to the future maintenance charges. Sorry. During the review of this report, it was determined that two previous Section 65 reports approved by council required changes to the future maintenance assessments from the November 26, 1980 report. This was done in error since the November 26 schedule was amended by the Court of Revision and dated April 7th of 81. So it was just a geographical error that was done at that time. And therefore, the report prepared by Peralta, dated May 18th of 2016, serves to amend both the future maintenance schedule, the schedule values for the previous two reports, dated June 14th, 2011, and February 12th, 2016, to correspond with the assessments approved at the Court of Revision of 1981. This project will be posted to the Reed Drain Undersun Section 65 account All costs to this project will be assessed to them. Administration note that the landowner had submitted an advance payment in the amount of $3,500. Should the advance payment, this advance payment is based on the engineer's estimate. Should the project exceed the estimate, the entire amount will be borne by that property owner, and there is no municipal cost to this project.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from council? Councillor Jacobs.
Thank you, Worship. Just out of curiosity, like the redrain which runs on 77, correct?
Yes.
Does the MTO share that with us, or how does that
Are
work?
you asking about their culvert?
Well, yeah, I mean, like they're draining into that as well, I would presume, from the highway,
Yes, and they're
correct?
assessed just like every other landowner.
So they pay a portion of any assessments that's done along?
Yes.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a public meeting as well. Is anyone in the audience that wants to speak to council in regard to the Reed drain? I see no one. So moved by Councillor Verbeke, support by Councillor Wilkinson. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. So we'll move on to another drain, the Sun Parlor drain this time.
I have Halliday Pearson from Baird AE here this evening. This is for a new assessment schedule for the Sun Parlor drain. Council may recall over the last 7 or 8 years, we have been working in the area of Fraser Road, Talbot, Seacliff Drive, amending assessment schedules, Erie View subdivision, installing the new drain along there. During those projects, we had determined that several assessment schedules needed to be updated because of the Erie View subdivision. So this is the final one. Halliday has done this report over the past year when we gave it to her. Lands were being doubly assessed incorrectly. So the Pettipiece drain has been completed, the Laypost drain has been completed, the Fraser Road drain has been completed, a new Erie View drain, and now this is the final one. So it's putting pieces of the puzzle together to make sure they're draining accurately to where they should be draining, and also recording that for our future maintenance. So I will pass it over to Halliday because she had a conversation with a landowner that would like to be highlighted tonight.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, I did speak with the owner of lands with roll number 590-02800. This parcel is towards the middle of the drainage area. He expressed concern that his parcel did not drain into the Sun Parlor drain. Through my review of the current bylaw and report for the Sun Parlor drain, I noted that this parcel was included in the previous assessment, so I have included it again. The landowner expressed concern that his water has no way to get to the Sun Parlor drain. Now, as I said, based on historical review, it does drain into the Sun Parlor, but if the owner is concerned, another option is to do a topographical survey of that parcel. Council could direct Baird AE to do that. There would be a cost, which would be assessed directly to the landowner.
Well, if it doesn't drain into the drain, where does it drain to? If he's in
That's
the
a very
middle of
good question.
everything?
He's basically in the middle of the drainage area.
So it has to drain to that drain.
In my opinion, yes, it does drain to the Sun Parlor.
We
Sorry.
go almost all the way up to Miller's gas station,
Just beyond.
just beyond.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, and he's towards the top end there.
Okay. Questions from council? Councillor Verbeke?
Who would pay for the topographical survey? Like the one you're talking about?
If we needed it done?
Yes.
That would be assessed to the landowner
The
who
landowner in
requested
question?
it.
Thank you.
Just so council is
Luann,
aware,
you're just going to have to speak
Sorry.
to the mic.
Sorry. Typically, when we ask council for an updated assessment schedule, we don't appoint the engineer to go out and do a survey. Basically, what they look at is historical records that previous councillors have adopted, and we're just doing the severances off of it and updating it. We don't send out do a whole new survey based on a request.
Okay.
So in this case, if he doesn't believe that his water is draining that way, he would have to pay for the survey.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does he know what kind of cost this will amount to? Because we don't want to say, go ahead, and then he says, oh my gosh, that's $20,000 more than I thought, and then who's going to pay? I mean, we might as well take care of that before we decide.
I've estimated the cost to be approximately $600. That's just my estimate, depends how long it takes for my surveyor to do the work. Could be less, but that's my estimate right now.
Yep, so you can.
Does he know it's going to cost $600?
No, in speaking with the drainage superintendent prior to the meeting, she asked me to prepare an estimate for the survey costs. So no, if Mr. Mastronardi is here tonight, he knows now. But if he's not here, I can certainly call him. But again, council would need to direct me to proceed any further.
I guess I just don't understand why we would do that. I mean, it just seems logical that if he's in the middle of everything that's draining to that
Correct.
one spot, then why would we? I don't
That's
get
correct.
that, but-
There is no other drain around for that water to flow to.
Okay. So if council doesn't accept this, Luann, or I mean, doesn't make this recommendation, we just say, just go ahead the way you're going, what ramifications are there for either the property owner or for us in that regard? And like, what ability does he have to a challenge?
There is an appeal, and also there is the Court of Revision.
All right, so. Councilor Verbicki.
Worthy Mayor, thanks. Luann, why would this, if these are farms, why would it not qualify for the 1/3 grant?
Under the Agricultural Drainage Infrastructure Program through OMAFRA, updating assessment schedules do not comply to the policy.
Oh, yes, so this is a public meeting, I'm very sorry. Is someone in the audience that wants to address council in this regard? Is there?
Claudio Mastinardi, representing MCM Acres. So I've got a couple questions. I didn't see any details in what we received as to how the benefit and outlet costs were assessed. So I was wondering if we could get more detail on that. Also, I want to know if it was considered that, I know there's a number of properties, but I'll speak into mine specifically, 590-01800. Now, I know there's 4 or 5 properties here that do a shared drain or a combined drain that was implemented. God, it's probably quite a few years ago, where it's a shared drain on the lands, not the residentials. So I want to know if that was considered in these assessments, that the majority of these larger pieces of property, starting from 590-1500, and I believe it goes to 2400, if not 2300, all have a shared drain.
So the numbers you're referring to are lot numbers then?
They're
we're
not
we're
lot
looking
numbers,
at addresses.
they're on the Baird roll numbers.
Roll numbers, okay, yeah. So the map we're looking at has actual property numbers, yeah, so.
The benefit and outlet calculations were determined through a review of the previous report, as well as I reviewed the parcels that are immediately adjacent to the drain. Those parcels have a benefit outlet. All parcels have an outlet assessment because they're using the drain to move their water.
But the majority of these properties here, these larger pieces, are not using that drain. They're using the shared drain on the backside and the property slope to the north.
I did review that mutual drain agreement, and I based the areas affected in this new schedule on the numbers that were provided in that mutual drain agreement. So in the mutual drain agreement, there was a percentage given of lands that drain to the north. So I subtracted that from the total area and was left with the resulting area shown on this plan.
Can we see the detailed report of how you came up with that then?
I don't have it with me tonight,
Okay.
but we could meet to discuss.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience that wanted to address council on this matter? If not, what are council's wishes?
With the mayor,
Counselor?
are they still going to review this before we go any further, or like, are we putting the cart before the horse? Do we, that's where I'm confused. If not, then, I'll move it unless, Mr. Mastinardi is satisfied with that. If not, then it's redundant. If all the land drains to the north on the shared driveway, then this report, I don't know, this assessment's no good to me.
The only reason I would move ahead on it is simply because he has the opportunity. That's why I asked, is there some recourse for the landowners to come back to, and that would be the appeal or the committee of adjustments. So, Luann, your opinion?
The two properties that we're talking about,
Yep.
MCM Acres and the other Mastinardi property that Halliday brought up earlier, we can confirm those prior to the Court of Revision and bring an updated assessment schedule at that time.
Okay, so then what do you need us to do with this report tonight?
Just adopt it.
Adopt it?
Yeah.
Okay. What are council's wishes then? Councillor Hammond moves, support by Councillor Wilkinson. Discussion on that motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're into reports of staff. We'll move on to reports of staff and delegation, and we do have a presentation this evening from one of our closest and dearest, nearest and dearest friends, the MPAC. So I will invite a friend of ours, Tracy Pringle, account manager for MPAC, to present to council.
Good evening, and thank you, Your Worship, and members of council and administration for providing me an opportunity to speak to you this evening. Okay. Our agenda for the next 10 minutes will cover a brief overview of property assessment and taxation, the residential experience, tools for property owners, tools for municipalities, and your preliminary residential values. Property assessment and taxes are the product of an integrated system made up of MPAC, who provide current value assessments for over 5 million properties worth $2.2 trillion in Ontario, the province, made up of the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Assessment Review Board, and the municipalities themselves, who determine their revenue requirements and collect property tax to pay for municipal services. This year, every property owner in Ontario will receive an assessment notice to set their values for the 2017 to 2020 tax years. The 4-year cycle is legislated by the province of Ontario, and this year's assessment update has a legislated valuation date of January the 1st of 2016. MPAC has been preparing for the 2016 assessment update since early in 2014, 2 years earlier than previous assessment updates. Residential notices have been mailed over a 21-week window, which began in April of this year. We're delivering values 5 months earlier than ever before to assist in confirming values and stabilizing the roll return. The update is supported by Municipal Connect 2.0 for municipalities and the updated About My Property tool for property owners. Assessment update toolkits have also been shared with municipal staff. So this time we employed an advanced disclosure protocol. And to summarize, the first stage were that guides were published for 11 special property types, including things like automotive assembly plants, large food production plants, steel mills, etc. Additional guides are being published to mpac.ca, and the residential methodology guide is now available on the public site, so anybody that wants to understand residential assessment in depth may go and look at that report and read it. It's great bedtime reading. Valuation reports were the second stage, explaining how the methodology was applied and provide market data about key components for those property types. The third level is where we are now, which is detailed information and property level detail available to owners through the About My Property tool and to municipalities through Municipal Connect. So why are we doing this? One of our key initiatives is to actively engage our municipalities and property owners in the 2016 Advanced Disclosure process to help achieve stability and transparency with role delivery. We're encouraging our municipal partners to be participants in this process, and our aim is to have no surprise reductions for the next 4 years. This year, residential property owners in Leamington received their 2016 property assessment notices on or around August the 8th. Notices for farms will be mailed October the 11th. Multi-residential and business properties will be mailed across the province on the 18th of October. Current value assessments shown on the notice will serve as the basis for municipal property taxation for the next 4 years, 2017 to 2020. Our key touch point with property taxpayers is the property assessment notice. It has been redesigned for simplicity and clarity this year. The first thing you'll notice is the municipal specific issue date at the top of that notice. This is a result of Bill 144. In December of 2015, the province passed Bill 144 Budget Measures Act, which introduced a new request for reconsideration deadline. The legislative change moves the request for reconsideration deadline to 120 days from the issue date shown on the property assessment notice during a reassessment year. For residential property owners in Leamington, the request for reconsideration deadline is December the 6th of 2016. This is a change. Previously, that would have been March 31st of the following year. The early notice delivery and reconsideration deadline enables MPAC to complete request for reconsideration reviews before the assessment rolls are delivered to municipalities, providing greater stability and accuracy in the assessment base. So we'll look in a little bit more detail at the notice. We've incorporated plain language and design principles. The 2016 assessed value and change in assessed value from the 2012 assessment update are highlighted. Additionally, the property owner will see there, I want to make sure I do the right thing here, their About My Property login information listed right there on their form. These numbers can be somewhat confusing to the general public. Personally, I like the second part, which is a little bit further down on your notice. This is a clear explanation of the phased-in assessment value for each year of this cycle and request for reconsideration deadline for each taxation year, highlighted on that notice, as you'll see here. Page 2 includes a simple explanation of the Ontario Property Assessment System, information on the valuation process, and 5 key factors that affect 85% of the value for residential assessment. We're really directing property owners to use About My Property for more information on market trends, percent change by municipality, and detailed information about their own property and other properties in their neighborhood. Additionally, the roles and responsibilities of MPAC, the government, and municipalities are highlighted. So how can people learn more about their assessment? By using the About My Property tool. This is a secure online tool that connects property owners and MPAC, and it is aimed at improved communication and transparency for property owners. By using About My Property, owners can learn about market trends in their neighborhood, including residential sales price trends and municipality in their own neighborhood as well as other municipalities across Ontario. They can read, save, and print copies of their property assessment notice. They can review detailed information about their property, validate their property details, and file a request for reconsideration if they disagree with their assessment. They can access basic information for up to 100 properties and detailed information for 24 properties to compare to their own. Visitors can also view market trends and residential sale prices without logging in through the new Market Trends area on the About My Property. This is accessible to all users without a login. All you need to do is enter the municipality or area in the search field, and you can access maps that show deeper information by neighborhood about any specific municipality. Smaller bubbles mean fewer homes. Larger bubbles mean greater concentration of homes in that particular area on the map. So in order to resolve assessment concerns, the first step we're taking is we're really asking property owners to do a bit of a gut check. Look at that value listed on your property assessment notice and ask yourself if you could have sold your property on January the 1st of 2016 for the amount listed. If the answer is yes, file that paper with your very important papers and wait for your tax bill. If the answer is no, really are encouraging people to visit the About My Property or contact MPAC by phone or by mail so that they can get more information and detail. Residential property owners that disagree with their assessment, as I stated, can file a request for reconsideration by using the About My Property tool by mail or by fax. If an individual is not satisfied with the outcome of their request for reconsideration, they have the option to file an appeal with the provincially ran Assessment Review Board, and the board does charge a $75 fee to file a residential appeal. Those are our contact details, which I have put in the public presentation so that anybody can get a hold of us should they need to. So we're focused this time also at enhancing municipal engagement. By redesigning the Municipal Connect tool, which launched earlier this year with our very first property assessment notices that went out, it has been redesigned on a brand new platform. The values are being made available in the system as they are ready and published, and the tool is really focused on 2016 preliminary assessed values. The municipal toolkit has been shared with your municipal staff to help roll this out and have correct messaging to talk to property owners about what's happening. So we're going to take a look at your preliminary market trends. This year we've completed, or I'm sorry, this cycle, we have completed more sales investigations and data quality checks in preparation than ever before. Across the province, we've reviewed and updated more than 2.8 million data elements, and across Zone 1, which is southwestern Ontario, we've completed nearly 500,000 reviews. For Essex County, we performed 52,000 data touchpoints, and in Leamington specific, there were nearly 6,800. Why is this significant? Leamington has nearly 11,000 residential properties, 11,000 properties, including 8,000 residential properties. So the fact that we've reviewed nearly 6,800 of those 8,000 should lead you to the fact that this will be more accurate. More accurate data leads to more accurate assessment. So to understand what the market is doing in Leamington, in Essex, we see that market values or sales of similar properties, in Leamington, are indicating that this is what the values are. Provincially, we're seeing residential values increase year over year by about 4.5%. Essex County as a whole is experiencing about 3.2% across the entire residential sector. You'll see in Leamington that the percent change is the year-over-year increase to a typical home or median home. If there were 100 homes, this would be number 50 in Leamington. 2.5% in Leamington versus 3.2% for Essex County. The dollar change is the difference in value from the 2012 to the 2016 CVA on, again, a typical or median property over the 4-year phase-in. And the typical value that you'll see represented there is the destination value or the 2020 value of that specific property. As I stated, this has been validated by nearly 8,000 data touch points, including sales investigations and data quality. The county as a whole, the hotspots in terms of values going up more quickly than the rest of the county. We've seen that in LaSalle, Tecumseh, and Lakeshore, as a result of some of the developments and condos and new subdivisions that have gone into those locations. And that concludes the formal part of the presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from council? I've got one that, Councillor Jacobs.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for the presentation, Tracy.
Thank you.
When someone appeals their assessment and they submit a request, how is that handled? Does someone physically come and inspect what they're requesting, or is it done on a chart-based system? Like, how do you actually, I appeal, I want lowered my assessment. How do you go about that?
So what would happen in a request for reconsideration is the property owner would file that request along with whatever evidence they have to support the fact that they believe their assessment is too high. So going through the About My Property tool, for example, and looking at properties that you deem are comparable to the property that you own, providing us with that evidence. If the evidence is sufficient, then a visit wouldn't be required. However, if there is data that is incorrect on your form, for example, your property assessment notice says you have 4 bathrooms and you only have 3, that may require a visit for us to come and validate that information to update the assessment. So it really depends on what the nature of the request is and how that works. If it's just because you think your assessment's too high, if you can provide evidence to state that your house is more like homes that are of a lesser assessment value, that is likely something that we would send an inspector out to look at, just to validate and make sure that that's accurate.
So basically, if, just for discussion's sake, I figure my house is worth $500. The house next door to me sold for $275. Does that give me a grounds for appeal? Because now the property values is possibly lower because those houses went cheaper? Like, do you take that into consideration? Is that how that?
Yes, sir. The market value is really probably one of the greatest weightings in terms of how we value property. So you can I can give you an example that a bungalow in Leamington that might sell for $150,000, if you pick that up and put it in Toronto, it's not because it's better quality construction, it's not because it's a bigger or smaller footprint, it's just because of the market value of what people will pay in that area. You may pay $500,000 for that house in Toronto. So really it's looking at what comparable properties are in your neighborhood and what they sold for or would likely to be selling for.
I just want to go back to your first question that you list as people should ask themselves, can I sell my house for the assessed value, the impact value? Do people, well, and that's it, isn't it? Do people actually list their houses for sale based on the impact value, or do they ask what they believe will be a retail selling point? And my guess that's what they do. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. The more you make the more impact raises the value of my house, the higher price I can ask based on that. But in reality, I'm thinking, okay, they're saying here, I'm saying I want this for it. How do the two ever meet? Or do you just say, this is what we have it valued at, you can sell it for whatever you want?
The latter statement is absolutely correct. We take the current value assessment based on the methodology that's prescribed. What the market does and what people sell it for are completely different things. So you can imagine, if you look at some of the pricing wars we've seen in the last 3 months,
Yep.
we know that houses are selling 20 to 30% over their assessed value at any given time in bidding wars in 3 and 4 days. That may come into effect in the next assessment. It did not impact this assessment because this was the last 4 years. However, if that market cools off and stabilizes over the next few years, the next assessment would likely not jump a huge amount based on the bidding wars in the last 3 months. In terms of people asking what their asking price is for their house, that really is set with themselves, their real estate agents, and a market value that way. A real estate market value or a bank mortgage market value is generally not the same as an impact assessed value.
Okay, so then let's say I turn around and I sell my house for $200,000 more than you have it assessed for. So that new buyer, new owner, is impact going to be saying, well, this is how much you paid for it and this is now your assessed value?
We do sales investigations to determine whether it's a valid and real sale. So for example, in some cases we have family sales that transfer for $1.
Right.
That wouldn't be a good sale and it would not go into the comparison for the rest of the properties in that market. If a property sold for $200,000 more than what we had it assessed for, that would call for an investigation for us to understand why that happened. Was it a function of the market? Was it a function of somebody really needed that property for a very specific reason? Or is it because that's what all of the houses are doing in that market? One sale on its own really doesn't impact everybody else's value. That one sale on its own, if it were deemed that it was a special sale, for example, somebody needed that property, wanted that property, or there was some other consideration in there, it would not go into the bin to be mixed with all of the other sales later.
Okay, okay, good. Mr. Neufeld?
Tracy, I think there's one other option, and that is that the house has been undervalued by MPAC for a number of years, and we know that basements get completed even to the standard of the upstairs, but nobody is aware of it. So if MPAC isn't doing the internal investigations, then the valuation of that house is probably not accurate either. Wouldn't that be correct?
That would be correct, and the way that we at MPAC are notified of changes to a property is through the building permit process. So when the town issues a building permit, whether that's for interior renovations, exterior renovations, a new build, an addition, that will be our trigger to go and inspect that property. If people are completing renovations within inside of their homes without a permit, it's not something that we would ever know about. If there was a sale, if something else was completed that gave us a trigger to go to that property and inspect, it's when we would catch it. But with 5 million properties in Ontario, there is no way we can inspect them all.
So if there's a squealer out there,
If there's a squealer out there and the municipality requests that a specific property is visited, then that would also be a trigger for us to go and check.
interesting, okay. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor?
I know this is just making the process so much longer, but it's an interesting conversation. Many times when people get permits, though, they undervalue what they're doing. So there again, it's not an exact science, is it?
It's not. When a permit is issued to us, a permit is given a value. The permit value is not what goes on the assessment roll. The actual assessment of whatever that permit stated was happening, whether that's a garage, an addition, a pool, that's the value that goes on. And that assessed value is prescribed to us through legislation and methodology. So if I said I was building a garage and I only put a $5,000 value on that permit for my garage, but the garage was actually $25,000, we would capture it closer to that $25,000 than we would to the $5,000 permit submission, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate the
much.
update. So, Ken, before you get too comfortable, you can sit down, relax, but I'm actually going to move one report, an addendum up. It should be fairly quick, so, and Mr. Sharon is going to start us off. It's in regard to the Bank Theatre, so council knows which one we're talking about, okay? The addendum for the Bank Theatre. Mr. Sharon?
Thank you, Mayor Patterson, members of council. The Sun Parlor Players Community Theatre Group are submitting a grant application to the Ontario 150 Community Capital Program. They're looking to build 220 permanent seats, and their grant application is to request a grant for that particular project. This would include the permanent seating, aisle lighting, as well as concrete risers in the Bank Theatre. For the size of their organization in this particular funding program, they're eligible for up to 75% of the total project cost from Ontario 150. Additionally, beyond that, the program does permit the group to obtain up to 15% funding from other levels of government as well, in addition to the provincial contribution of 75%, thus leaving the 10% mandatory to be raised or funded by the group itself. The report before you tonight is recommending that council commit up to $33,000 for this initiative in 2017, this commitment being contingent on the group receiving 75% funding from the Ontario 150 program. I don't think I need to spend a lot of time defending or supporting why administration is supporting this particular recommendation to council. Council's been very clear to administration on their desire to see this theatre be successful and the build be successful in Uptown Leamington and all the Uptown revitalization benefits that go along with that. Another reason is given that the provincial government, if they're willing to commit to 75% to this particular project, that we felt our council would be on board in committing the remaining 15%. Before I move to the recommendation, I was asked whether or not the municipality's support would improve the likelihood of the application being approved at the provincial level. Unfortunately, they don't tell us exactly how they're going to score these things, or else we'd be even more successful in all of our grant applications. But you can read through the lines. I think the biggest benefit that municipal involvement will have in helping the provincial side is that the Ontario Petroleum Foundation, who's the group that reviews the grants, they want to know the level of committed funds. So how much secured funds does the group have for the initiative? With this particular contribution, they would be able to say that the municipality, that $33,000 is secured funding, thus only leaving, I guess, the $22,000 as unsecured and subject to fundraising and various things that the group plans to do for that 22%. And the program itself does permit collaboration among organizations, so it certainly won't hinder it. So the recommendation before council tonight is that council commit up to $33,000 for the Bank Theatre seating initiative for 2017, and that commitment be contingent on the Sun Parlor Players Group being successful in their Ontario 150 capital grant program.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld first, and then we'll come to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a few of my own comments with respect to supporting this request. When Rob came to me with this request and indicated that in addition to everything that he has put forward, he indicated, and it's in the report, that this is for the theater seating initiative. From a personal perspective, I'm looking at this and saying that is the sort of thing that can create a tipping point, that the venue now will have the kind of seating and will look like the venue, and the look and feel will match the kind of entertainment and productions that are being put on inside of the organization. So I wanted to, from that perspective, say this is one of those things that can make an incredible difference in the venue with the support, a small amount in comparison to what would be put forward by the province.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jacobs.
Thank you, Worship. In consideration how the Sun Parlor Playhouse fits into our plans for revitalization of the downtown area, and I would move the recommendation subject to funding by the 150 grant.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. We need a seconder, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Hammond.
Your Worship, thank you. We have tonight a number of people from the Bank Theatre executive with us, and I know they've worked very hard on this grant application along with the help from Rob, and I truly hope that they're successful. And to just further the comments made by Peter, yeah, this is the turning point. Putting these raised chairs in, which I've seen are very nice, this will be the culminating event to try and get this building finished. So I really hope that they're successful in their grant application.
Okay. No further questions. So we do have a motion on the floor. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is one regarding the Chestnut Park revitalization. And Mr. Brown.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and members of Council. This report is to recommend a few improvements to the Chestnut Park. The first is to close the portion of the alley, which is currently located within the park, to vehicular traffic. As can be seen in Figure 1 in the report, the existing alley travels north from Oak Street and extends through the park. Children playing in their park frequently run across this alley without being mindful for vehicles coming up the alley. So obviously the parents have expressed concern for their children's safety and have requested that we consider closing this alley. As there are several utilities in this alley and residents also use it to access the backs of their property, a complete closure is not recommended. Administration will recommend to install 2 lockable gates at the north and south extents of the park to prevent vehicular traffic through the park section only. Vehicles will still be able to access the remainder of the alley from the Oak Street. The second improvement is to demolish the buildings located at 20 Chestnut and 33 Fox. And these properties were purchased this year with the intention of demolishing the buildings and expanding the park. The cost for the demolition will be approximately $12,000, with an additional $8,000 required for asbestos abatement. Prior to demolition, Habitat for Humanity will be given the opportunity to take what they need from the buildings. So we've already been in communication with them if this is approved. Once complete, site restoration and further improvements can occur, including a new perimeter fence and the addition of a few park amenities like small soccer nets, benches, stuff like that. The total cost of this is estimated at approximately $50,000. A notice has been provided to the residents regarding the recommendations of this report. We wanted to receive input from the residents if there is any, so we did send them a notice. And the recommendation is that the alley currently located in Chestnut Park be closed to vehicular traffic, and administration be directed to bring forward a bylaw to close the alley for council consideration, and that the demolition of the buildings located at 20 Chestnut and 33 Fox be approved, and that the scope of the demolition, site restoration, and park improvements identified in this report be approved to a total cost of $70,000, and that the Recreational Lands Reserve Fund be used to fund the works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. And did you have any luck communicating with the local residents, and was there any input from them?
We never received anything specifically for this, the recommendations. We did receive one communication who talked about the possibility of adding additional lights to the park, closing both ends of the alley, which we're not recommending only because there are utilities that use the alley and also residents. So we're just recommending to close off just the park section. So that was about it that we've received.
So was there any indication that some of the residents might be here tonight in hopes of speaking to council, or?
I have not, no, I don't know, I'm not aware of any residents either way that wanted to speak against the recommendations. If there's anybody here,
okay,
through you.
All right,
welcome.
so maybe what we'll do first of all is come to council. Are there any questions of Mr. Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ken, I was just wondering how vehicles will turn around in the alley. The snowplow and the utility vehicles, will they end up using somebody's driveway to turn around? Is it possible for them to get out without just backing up through the whole length of it? How easy will it be for folks to do that? And I'm just asking because I'm thinking if there's somebody whose driveway is always the turnaround point, those are the folks that might not be that crazy about this idea. So I'm just wondering what kind of ease will there be in backing out of that alley once we close it?
Through you, Mayor, as far as the winter control, like public works, utilities, that's why we're going to have lockable gates. So because for winter control, we wouldn't be able to back up our trucks back down the alley. So we would open the gate on both ends and push right through. So, and same with the utilities. As far as residents, as I indicated in the report, there are a few residents that do park in the back there. A lot of the residents, their backs of their properties are completely fenced off. So the residents who do have access, like driveways in the back of their properties, do have adequate, like that's how they go in that now. They just go in, turn into their garage or driveway, and then back out. Again, if a car would happen to go back there thinking they could drive through, they would obviously reach a gate and they would have to back up and turn around at the most convenient spot. But those would most likely be people that I probably maybe don't have any business back there.
Deputy Mayor?
Further to that, will we post a sign then that there's no, because that there's no exit?
Yes, yeah, a no exit sign or dead end or something at the entrance, yeah.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Jacobs?
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation. I took a ride down through there today. There's only, I think, 4 properties, Ken, that actually have garages that are access to that alley, and then 2 near Oak Street, so I can't see any problem with the neighbors.
Well, I have a request before you make that formal motion, which I
Oh,
know
okay,
you've
go
just
ahead
done.
then.
but It's just I was giving a little heads up that maybe there was maybe not quite the crystal clear communication with the residents, and that some may want to address council tonight, but I would have to have a motion from council to allow that to happen, because this is not a public meeting, so to allow residents to speak. So moved by Councillor Jacob, supported by Councillor Hammond. So then, I know we had one hand go up in the corner. I'm sorry. All in favor of that motion? Sorry, I need, yeah, skipping the rules here. I should come forward, and yours, okay, thank you. And again, once you're seated, there's a button to push on the microphone, it'll come on. You can introduce yourself, state your name and address, and then
Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor and Councilors, my name is Richard Medbury. I'm a recent acquired property owner for 36 Askew, which is right off of the alley. And the only problem I'm having, and I think I was probably the one that left the message over here, but it didn't get quite through the way I wanted it to, is I'd like to see, if you're going to have a gate that's basically not something that the people can hop over, because we're finding there's a lot of tagging that's going on in the properties around that area. And when you bring the park closer to the houses, the garages get tagged. And it's happened since the park has actually come into play. I'm not against the park at all. I understand the idea behind it. But we've had tagging on the actual property in the garage that I've got, and the house that you're tearing down has had several situations where they've tagged the garage. And there's been other places along the alley on behind Askew that have had tagging done. And that's why I'm saying, if you're going to turn around and do that, please get proper lighting. And I know the police are there as much as they can, but at least if you have a gate where they can't hop it, they're less apt to do the tagging and run down the alley and get into another yard. Because I know I'm out there cutting lawns, and I'm out there trying to take some of the tagging off that's happened to my aunt's property that I've now acquired. And the kids just run down the alley. And they're out there in the park now trying to destroy some of the swings and things like that. So it happens later at night. And you yell at them, and they just turn around and use you as a target. So you can turn around and say anything you want to the police. By the time the police get there, they're long gone. So it's just, if you have more lighting right now behind on Askew, there's only one light that goes in the alley, and it's dim. Okay, so with the trees that are there and everything else, it makes that park area very hard to even see whether everybody's around in the park or where they are hiding around near the trees and so on. So, but there is some riffraff that goes on. I'm just saying, I don't mind them expanding the park, but just keep it better lit, and maybe a gate that is higher so people can't just turn around and hop over it, and keep it locked so that they only can get in it when they need it for, like you say, clearing snow or whatever.
okay.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
And there's another gentleman here, yes? Please come forward. And again, just push the talk button there and introduce yourself, name and address.
Council, I'm strictly opposed to this recommendation.
I just need to know who you are, your address first.
Pardon?
Your name and address first.
Oh, Don Joyce, 42 Chestnut.
Okay.
I've been at this place for 40-some years, seen a lot of action happen around that area, and I'm strictly opposed to it because a few years ago we went through the episode about my trailer being parked in the front of the house. I made provisions after that to make provision to put it in the backyard. And now this recommendation there about closing the alley is almost impossible for me to use my trailer back there. Because there's no way I'm going to back that trailer in from Oak Street back down to my property to get it into the backyard. if they close the alley at the other end. And furthermore, I don't see any reason why the park has to, or the alley has to be closed. If you're going to extend the park, why can't the alley still be there? There's very few kids use that park. And all the years I've been there, even though the new addition that you put in there, you may see 5, 6 kids in there at the most. And you're going to spend X amount of dollars to demolish 2 houses and extend that park and spend the taxpayers' money to put it in there for a handful of kids that are going to use it. And I'm strictly opposed to it. And for the simple reason, my trailer, I use it continually, and I am not going to back it in off Oak Street to get it down the alley, because there's no place in that alley that I can turn that trailer around now to get it into my backyard. And you guys went through the whole process of removing all these trailers out of the driveway a few years ago. So this is a provision that I made to put it back there. Now you want to cancel that out again by closing the alley. And I'm strictly opposed to it. If they're going to build that down there, why can't they build it so that the alley can still be used? Because that is the most traveled alley or used in this town. You know it, and I know it. That it gets the most traffic back and forth, as well as walking, driving. People park their cars and everything back there. And I don't see any reason why that alley's got to be closed. If they could fence it off, the kids go from one side of that alley to the other now with the traffic's back there. Why is the alley got to be closed completely? Can they not make provisions to be able, if they're going to fence it off, still make provisions that you can go in there? If the kids want to play on this side of the alley, fine. If they want to play on this end, they can go over there and play. But I have no reason why they have to close the alley because of that. I'm strictly opposed to it.
Okay.
And I think they should look into some other way of maneuvering that, because that alley is well used for everybody back there. I think they should change their way of thinking on there and keep it open.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Joyce, if, there might be a simple solution to this, though, that might appease both sides here, and I don't know if it would be allowable. Maybe Peter or Ken could answer to this. What if we were to provide you with a simple $2 key to access the gate? If you need to get your trailer in there, the once in a while, once a week that you need to take your trailer in and out, would that make you happy, something like that, if we just provided you with a copy of the key? Or you came to Mr. Brown and said, sure, but we want to try to please both sides here, and I'm kind of in support of, the safety of the kids in the park is my first and prime.
If you fence it off there, why can't the alley still stay open as a passageway through there? If the kids want to play on both sides of the alley, they do it now anyway. But there's not enough kids in that alley to justify the money you're going to spend to redo that whole park.
Well, they do it now, and we've kind of identified that as not being correct. There's a possibility of a bad accident happen there someday. Cars do go firing through that alleyway, right through the park. I think you can understand the inspiration for us wanting to close down the alley. Now, I want to be able to get your trailer out too. It sounds like you got a good point there. Never thought of that. But there might be a simple solution to this too. For your little bit of inconvenience that it's going to cause you, what do you take your trailer out? Once, twice a week at the most? Once a week? If that?
I use it all summer.
All summer. You could either contact Mr. Brown, or I don't know if we'd be allowed to, but, provide you with a simple key to access the gate.
If they do that, they're going to have to make a wide enough. My trailer is 24 feet. You just can't make a gateway in the end there to fit a car to get that trailer through there. And I've had that trailer for 24 years now. I have never used it.
Okay. Well, I think, yeah, I think we've heard your concerns, and I'm sure that, Mr. Brown, you can certainly try to incorporate them as best as possible. Our intent, and I hear what you're saying, you're objecting us to developing the park, but I mean, this has been one of the many goals that we have in our municipality, and this is for the betterment of the neighborhood. Those houses are coming down regardless, and that's where the greatest expense is. And I think we're looking at closing that alleyway off simply for the safety reasons. We can't tell kids to play on one side or the other, but I hear your concerns about your trailer getting in and out, and I hope Mr. Brown, well, I know he's heard the same concerns, so we'll see if we can't find some way to make that workable. Any other, Councillor Hammond?
Your Worship, thanks again. Just to address some of the concerns of Mr. Medbury, I just wondered, Ken, how high, I see we're putting a fence on the north side of the municipality that's going to remain open. How high of a fence is that? And to his question, how large a gate are we putting in there?
As far as the gate width, we'd have to get our public works plows through, so it would be fairly wide, that anything that can get down the alley can get through the gates. As far the type of gate that we had envisioned was a simple steel open gate. Anybody could go underneath it, over it. We have a lot of vandalism, tagging throughout the municipality, along trails, parks, everywhere. I don't know if putting a higher solid fence would deter them or just give them more cover. I don't know what the best solution is there. Typically, any of our walking paths, alleys, all of them are fairly open. I guess our original intent was to actually have the gates placed so that pedestrians or kids biking, say from Oak, could get through this gate without having difficulty. Kind of like our trails and stuff like that, just because they do walk back there.
Okay. No, we just had it so that people who were here could speak to us. So we do have a recommendation before us, and we've heard some of the thoughts that hopefully can be taken in consideration. So what are council's wishes? Councillor Wilkinson, move the recommendation. Support by Councillor Hammond with comment.
Yes, Your Worship, thanks again. And maybe, trying to look at adding some additional lighting might be a great idea, not only for the protection of the property owners, but also, too, for the protection of the park itself. If we're going to make a major investment in the park, we don't want to see it covered in graffiti, and possibly lighting might help alleviate some of that.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is report regarding the site plan agreement release, sanitary sewer connections, and Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson, members of council. Administration has received a request from the owner of 303 Erie Street North, and they're looking for the municipality to release them from two agreements that have been registered on title. So 303 Erie Street North is the residential property. It's just highlighted in red. It's a small property. It's on the right-hand side of the key map. It contains a house, a pool, and a pool house on that property now. So a title search of that property has confirmed that it's subject to two agreements. Those agreements are a site plan agreement and a sanitary sewer connection agreement. So the site plan agreement, it was an agreement that was approved by council in 2006. You can see from the sketch that's attached to the report that that agreement was applied to 79 and 132 Elliott Street. So those are the two Cervini greenhouses at the end of Elliott Street. After that, as part of that warehouse facility expansion, council authorized the owner to connect the private sanitary or private septic system into the municipal sanitary sewer in that area. So that's a standard agreement. The agreement specifically lists the legal description that's been provided in the report. It also specifically excludes the legal description of 303 Erie Street North. Just a note that these greenhouses, as well as 305 and 303, were all in a common ownership, number of companies and personal names owned by that company, and had been created over severances quite a ways back. So the owners now entered into a purchase and sale agreement to sell 303. They noticed that these agreements were on title and they're looking to have those removed. So in receiving this request, we've looked through our municipal records, our property files, our site plan agreements. It appears that these agreements were registered on the title of 303 in error. This is really just a housekeeping matter that will allow them to remove those. Any cost to remove them would be responsible of the owner. So the recommendation to council this evening is to authorize the release, excuse me, of 303 Erie Street North from the provisions of both the site plan agreement and the sanitary sewer connection agreement that have been registered on the title, and further to that, to allow the Director of Legal and Legislative Services to authorize or execute any documents necessary to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from council? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, supported by Councillor Dunn. Councillor Verbeke?
Through the mayor, just kind of curious who made the error. Was it the owner or the municipality?
We weren't able to determine that. It was just through title searches that we've noticed that it was on there.
And how much would it cost to recover the expense? Is it that the owner's fault now too? He has to pick up the bill to recover the finances that are incurred?
I'm not sure which costs, the cost to consider this or to remove those documents from the title of 303.
It said financial impact, your last statement. All costs of release of property, the terms of provision, the agreements will be responsibility of the owner.
So the owner will be responsible for paying their lawyer to prepare those documents, to submit them to the municipality. We'll sign them, we'll send them back to that lawyer, and then they'll have to take them back to the register office. That'll all be the cost of the owner.
Okay. Put a motion on the floor, did we not? Yes, regularly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the recommendation? And carried. The next report is an engineering report in regard to the one-way street study. Mr. Botham?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to talk about 4 of our one-way streets in Leamington. And this report is about a report prepared by R.C. Spencer, and John Toffelmeyer is here tonight as well, in case we have any questions that I can't answer. The municipality does have 4 one-way streets that connect Talbot Street to Oak Street. And internally, they're known here as one-way couplets. And the streets were intended for north-south travel in the urban area to relieve vehicle traffic pressure on Erie Street. And Lucy, maybe you could switch to the map for me. Can you rotate? Can you rotate? Sorry, that's okay, Lucy. So we were just talking about, oh, perfect. Thanks. These one-way streets here that connect Talbot to Oak. So on your map, you'll see Weigel, Victoria, Chestnut, and Fox. So between 1985 and 2007, there were no formal studies that ever commented on or considered the operation of these one-way couplets. But in 2007, MMM was hired to complete the short-term transportation action plan and the long-range transportation action plan. And in their study, they noted speeding is a concern on Fox, Chestnut, Weigel, and Victoria, and traffic calming could be considered. Traffic volumes on the Weigel-Victoria couplet are higher than on the Fox-Chestnut couplet. Traffic volumes are relatively low on Fox and Chestnut, and they may not be needed to relieve pressure on Erie Street. And then again in 2013, MMM updated the studies, and they noted again that most speeding complaints are related to north-south travel, particularly the north-south corridors between Talbot and Oak, the one-way streets, and speed mitigation or traffic calming may be implemented after completing spot speed studies. Traffic calming measures should be implemented. Traffic volumes along Fox and Chestnut one-way couplet are low. Traffic patterns and volumes along Victoria-Weigel couplet are varied, with low volumes at the north end and high volumes at the south end. And we at the municipality have also received a number of complaints of chronic speeding along Fox Street. So the local firm of R.C. Spencer was engaged to provide direction on the need for one-way streets, these one-way couplets, possible strategic improvements, and the impact of any improvements. Strategic improvements could include speed mitigation and traffic calming. Spencer did submit their findings and recommendations in the subject report dated June 7, 2016. Within the Spencer report, traffic speeds and volumes are, as they note, well within expected parameters on urban collector roads. There are no capacity or level of service problems, and there are no the data does suggest that vehicles are moving fastest on the Victoria-Weigel couplet, and 78 to 82% of the vehicles travel less than 50 kilometers an hour on the Chestnut-Fox couplet, and 92% of all the traffic that was sampled was traveling less than 60 kilometers an hour. So then Spencer tested their findings and the traffic counts that we had from previous reports, and they tested for stop control or stop signs along the way, along the couplets, and traffic calming warrants. So the traditional stop sign warrant analysis and the new warrants for traffic calming, which were established in 2013, were tested and they were not met. So what does that mean? That means that traffic engineers or traffic planners typically would not recommend any changes to the subject streets based on vehicle operation and vehicle safety. But there still seems to be a perceived problem in the area. Strategic operational improvements could be the design or the basis for design and improvement of current conditions. So Spencer has proposed the introduction of all-way stops at 4 intersections along each one-way street, one intersection along each of the one-way streets as a measure of traffic calming to improve conditions for non-motorized street users. So if you could look at figure 1, Lucy, in the report. So what would these stop-controlled intersections look like? We could put one on each of the one-way streets. If you look at figure 1 in the report, you'll see that because they're one-way streets, we'd have 3 stop signs. We try to constrict the one-way streets, the north-south portion, by constructing a bulb out or a constriction on the downstream side of the intersection, just as traffic calming. So to test these ideas, we held a public information session on April 19th, 2016 in the foyer here to present these findings. And we had 10 attendees. No one was in favor of changing the one-way streets back to two-way operation. We did receive 5 comments that support the introduction of all-way stops, 1 along each of the streets. We had 1 written response that was in favor of the status quo, with the introduction of 1 all-way stop along each street as a second choice. And for financial consideration, we were considering that the approximate cost to construct this setup at 1 intersection is approximately $25,000. And we're hoping that, we're recommending that the timing of these constructions could begin as early as 2017 based on Council's consideration during budget deliberations. So we are recommending that the report prepared by R.C. Spencer dated June 7, 2016 be accepted by Council as the basis for design and construction of all-way stops along the one-way streets, Chestnut, Fox, Victoria, and Weigel.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councillor Wilkinson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Alan, just wondering, I'm glad to see that the report recommended not taking away the one-way option on all these roads. But this, you call it the bulb-out curb area. It's going to cost $25,000. That's going to require a little bit of excavation work to come in there and reshape the road, correct? correctly. I'm just wondering, why didn't we think about, I like the idea of putting stop signs on there. I thought that was a pretty simple solution the whole way along. Why aren't we just simply dropping some stop signs there and not worrying about this bulb out idea, the part that's going to require, 25,000 per 100 grand to do the 4 roads then at that point? Can you maybe explain why we just aren't dropping stop signs?
Sure. The stop signs provide one thing to the operation of the road, and the constriction in the road that the bulb outs are there for is to slow traffic down. It tends, when you constrict a road or narrow a road, it tends to slow traffic down, so you get a second improvement. You get a shorter crossing distance, at least on one of the major crossings. An east-west crossing is a whole lane shorter than it would be on the other side, so it's quicker, safer for people to cross. There's a number of reasons why we would put the bulb out. To answer your question about timing, certainly we'd like to do them as soon as possible, but we will try to incorporate them into other construction projects to save cost. So as an example, we're proposing that we construct or reconstruct Marlborough Street in 2017. Part of the design will be incorporating one of these systems as a cost-saving measure. So we try.
That part makes sense. If we were going to dig up the road anyway, as you say, Marlborough Street's going to get redesigned. I can see you doing it then. I kind of look at this and I wonder, why aren't we doing this in stages almost, to put the stop signs in first, see if that calms down the traffic, slows them down to begin with. If it doesn't, we can always go ahead and do these bulb out ideas after the fact. That's just my thoughts as I read this last night. That was my thoughts.
Mr. Schoffelmeyer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to try and add something to that, because I think that, there was an article, I think, in the Windsor Star recently about how many hundreds of always stops they have in the city of Windsor, and I processed 90% of those. And I will try and say it this way: if you only do the always stop, you're really not doing traffic calming. You're just putting in a traffic control device. It's the bulb out that gives you the visual enhancement. You notice the bicycle lane there. There's an added measure of safety to the bicycle riders. There's an added measure of safety to the pedestrians, because now you're narrowing the street in the critical direction. And unfortunately, if you just put a simple always stop, a stanchion and a stop sign, you're not going to grab the attention of the drivers there who may not be anticipating that. From a traffic operations point of view, as Alan has said, it's not warranted. It doesn't meet the operational warranted. So in a way, it means that drivers may not be anticipating that. So I would not want to see you put in an always stop without the bulb out, because it's the bulb out that gives you the enhanced visibility and safety factor, especially for pedestrians that are crossing. So you really need to jolt people and grab their attention in order for the motorist to obey the stop sign. That's the unfortunate truth of it. And it's the northbound in this case. It's the one-way street direction that you need to grab their attention. While I have the floor, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make this other comment, that the bulb out is really your own invention. Is northbound Fox Street at Russell, there's a bulb out. And I want to draw your attention, there is a recommendation in my report. It's at the very end, hard to pick it up because it's just the way the page reads, but I have recommended that when that work gets done, move that over a couple meters, because it doesn't provide width for the bike lane. And it's a less than $10,000 item. It's symbolic and strategic, and it says a lot of good things about the way you're moving. And as part of the active transportation team, and it is a way of a really simple way, low-cost way of, getting something to happen in a good way for the cycling community. So I hope that helps to add a bit of perspective onto it. I would not recommend that you do the always stops without the bulb out. I definitely think you can stage it, and I think it it's a manifestation of the community in the area. That's what we're really after. If you have a chance to read the page of traffic calming objectives and goals in my report, it goes way beyond cars and volumes. It's about community, and it's about enhancing all users, pedestrians, bicycles, and the residences in the area. And so I just think that it becomes much more than just a stop sign. That's the idea of it. Thank you.
And actually, I wrote that down as Councillor Wilkinson was mentioning about the bulb outs, and I go up Fox a lot, and when I get to that, you're right. It's right there in my vision, and I have to slow down whether I want to or not. I mean, I know the stop sign's there too, but no, I don't speed up that road, no. People do though, which is, I'll come back to that one, but that's where that bulb out really does emphasize what we're trying to accomplish. So anyway, Councillor Jacobs, next.
Mr. Wilkinson went through my questions.
Okay.
But I do have one question. Will we be moving this, or are we just receiving this because it's going to be in the deliberations for our budget for 2017? So we're just receiving this report?
Let me get back to the recommendations. The report titled One Way, blah, 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 be accepted as the basis for design and construction of all-way stops along the one-way streets of Chestnut, Fox, Victoria, and Waggle. So I don't think we're necessarily committing the funding to it. We're just accepting that this is what we want to do in the near future. Correct? Okay. And then Councillor Hammond?
Your Worship, thank you. I believe you've already answered the two questions that I had, Al. Just an early comment, though. I thought during the open session we'd have some residents here demanding that the streets be opened up both ways again, so I'm surprised that they didn't. But, yeah. But, and again, I think you've answered the questions. I was going to ask, first of all, how many four-way stops were you looking at on each one of these one-way streets? And I think you've now said one. And then I was going to ask, have you chosen a street, possibly Marlborough? And I think you've answered that as well. Am I correct?
As the first opportunity,
Yes.
it would be nice to do, if we're going to do it, we should do two. We should take care of the west side of town and or the east side of town at the same time, so we get the stops in together. I was saying that next year we're already planning for the construction at Marlborough and Chestnut, so that's a good place to start. So it'd be nice to do at least two at a time.
Okay, I guess what I was referring to was a cross street. Had you chosen which ones you were looking at?
Yep, we've got Victoria at Marlborough, Weigel at Marlborough, Fox at Askew, and Chestnut at Askew.
Okay. So my question is, I was, after the bulb out talking, it was getting back to, I always thought that Fox and Chestnut, well, at least Fox was the worst road for speeding. And is that not where we've had the pedestrian fatality? And have we had any on the other two streets? Not that I'm challenging the report, it's just, I thought...
We did a comprehensive review of speeds on the streets. And basically the conclusion is you get occasional speeders. That's the problem. It's not an everyday sort of run-of-the-mill driver problem. Most drivers are obeying the speed limits. When you get a result like we got here where like 90% are within 10 kilometers of the speed limit, that's quite remarkable. And commendations to the drivers. But still, you have the 2% factor. And I'm certain that's what people react to, okay? They see the occasional problem. That's what it is. And it's another benefit, I guess, of the bulb design, because that really does catch everybody, including the 2%. They got to do something different, really. That's what you're after.
Yeah.
So
no, I was just wanted to say that I was kind of surprised at that, because I thought
I was
thought
surprised
the west
too.
side was
But
worse.
the comprehensive report, results are in the report. You can see the distribution, but it's those. There's still a couple over there going 65 or 70 clicks.
Yeah.
Not acceptable, but.
And I agree with Councillor Hammond too, that I was kind of shocked that the residents along those streets don't want them returned to two-way. I thought that was a
Well,
given, but
there are a lot of issues because it's about access. They've become accustomed to some places would lose street parking.
yes.
You lose the bike lanes. You know, you start compromising some of the important community aspects of those streets. And really, I get back to that word, that's really what it's about. And they recognize that. So
Good.
there was no groundswell of any opinion in that direction.
Yep. Cool. All right. Deputy Mayor?
Just a little side point, John, what I wanted to say with regards to the bulb out, yes, it slows the traffic down because it narrows the path, but also if there are two vehicles, one going straight and one going left, I think you have a bit of a conundrum when you get to that, if you just put the stop signs there. This way that eliminates that two vehicles kind of simultaneously going off like this. So to me, I'm liking that because I think it lessens the options happening at exactly the same time, which again, when you are in a very residential area, this is what you're looking to do. So just a point.
Well, the response to that is that it happens very rarely that there would be any type of congestion as a result because there's not that many vehicles doing that. They stop, there's nobody in the way, they immediately make their left turn. They're not holding up people in behind. It's just very low volume. You know, no matter where you go in those streets, there would not be a capacity issue at all.
Very good. Councillor Wilkinson?
And I'm just wondering, I heard you say Askew was going to be the spot for the west side for Chestnut and Fox. Why Askew? Why wouldn't it be Marlborough again? It seems like Marlborough is the more central street.
Actually, Askew is more central on the west side. Marlborough is the first street down. Askew is the second street from the north, but it's almost midpoint. If you look at the map, it may be counterintuitive, but you'll see that it's almost exactly in the middle on the west side between. The distance between Oak and Askew is almost identical to the distance to Askew to Talbot. On the other side, because of the skew of Talbot, Marlborough's in the middle. Counterintuitive, but that's the way it is.
Okay. Councillor Verbicki?
Through the mayor, thanks. I hope these bulb outs will not impede or affect anybody's property to get in and out of their driveway or park a trailer or anything, so I hope that's taken into consideration.
Point taken. Moved by Councillor Jacobs, support by Councillor Hammond. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. Next item on the agenda is one regarding the tender results for Mercy Road C construction. Alan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In 2016, Council allocated $400,000 for the reconstruction of Mercy Road C. The project initiative included the shifting of the road approximately 1.5 meters to the south of the existing alignment, the removal of the concrete blocks, and reconstructing the road and reopening the road to 2 lanes of travel. We separated the project into 2 construction components, with part 1 being Mercy Road C bank improvements, which are now completed by Shilson Construction. Part 2 is Mercy Road C reconstruction, and part 2 includes the complete reconstruction of Road C between Mercy Road 19 and East Beach Road, and it also includes for some spot repairs along Mercy Road 19 between Mercy Road 1 and Mercy Road C. You can see that it's depicted in the map attached on page 54 of the agenda. We've identified some soft spots and road repairs required on 19 as purple circles. So we did receive one tender on August 25th for this work from Shepley Road Maintenance. Shepley has worked in the municipality in the past and done well, and Just for council's awareness, we did review their tender against some of their past submissions and their most recent submissions and found that the prices are in line with their other contracts that they did complete this year. Again, we will, because we had two segments to this project, being on Road C and then the spot repairs on Road 19, if you look in the financial impact section, you'll see that we are funding this contract from two accounts. One is the Road C improvements. So in Table 1, we just highlighted that to date we've spent just under $13,000 on engineering and property purchases, about $110,000 on the Shilson contract, and within this contract, just under $257,000 will be spent on the Road C improvements, leaving us approximately $20,000 in that account. And the second funding comes from our annual road resurfacing budget. That's approximately $700,000. And to date, we've spent money on Mercy Road 10, which is now complete, milling and paving Georgia Avenue. And now we're spending just under $50,000 on the Mercy Road 19 repairs. You'll see that there's approximately $125,000 left in that budget, and we expect to be back in front of council with one more milling and paving contract this year. So we are recommending that this project, or this contract, be awarded to Shepley Road Maintenance, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into any agreements.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Verbeke?
You got to get it under the tongue first. Thank you, the Mayor. Are they going to start concurrent, or Shilson's not quite done yet? Is Shepley the one in charge of taking off the Fox blocks? Is a decision there where those are going to go yet before they mill it and pave it? So I just, and the bank improvements on the north side of the road, is that a different entity too, or is it still Shepley?
As I understand it, the Shilson contract is done. The bank's been graded and seeded, and that work's done now. And now Shepley will take over, and they'll be responsible for removing the blocks. They're picking up the blocks and disposing of them as part of the contract. We may do some spot repairs on the north bank as we identify them as we go, but they would be minor at the moment, from what I saw today when I was out looking at it.
Councilor Dunn?
Through you, Your Worship. Alan, I thought we were going to use those cement blocks for other projects later on in the future.
We did consider that work. We did notice the blocks are not in great condition. They're not uniform. They're not all the same size. That would make it difficult to stack and align them to any great extent as sort of retaining walls. They've got a lot of graffiti on them. The other consideration we thought we might, early on, we thought we might be able to use them as some kind of break wall or breakwater, but they're so light that the waves would just toss those around, and we need to get something more substantial in it, like armor stone or something like that. We also we may have talked about using them early on in the year, but at this point I don't have any drainage projects or construction projects ready for a substantial amount of that kind of material.
Okay, Mr. Neufeld?
In addition to that, trying to store these blocks for some purpose, some potential purpose, maybe in the future, becomes difficult as well, as we even have some blocks in storage now that we aren't using. So to store another 300 blocks just didn't make any sense. So it became part of the contract for removal.
Councilor Jacobs?
Thank you, Worship. I think you anticipated my question, Alan, anyway. One bid. Any reason that we're only getting one bid on these? I mean, it's a substantial contract, and I know Shepley is reputable and they've done a lot of work for us, but I'm just concerned again about lack of bidders.
I share your concern. I share your concern with our tar and chip contract, our asphalt contracts. But in Essex County, again, we just don't have We don't have those suppliers. We have two asphalt suppliers, Coco and Amico, or Millam, sorry. And we have one, excuse me, we have one tar and chip contractor. We have two contractors that have pulverizing machines. So we just don't have that many to choose from with this type of operation. But again, his prices were in line. And as an example, in the spring he bid on Road 10 and he was supplying stone at $48 a ton. This contract has the same stone at $49 a ton.
I'm not disputing the contractor. I know, again, as I mentioned earlier, they are reputable and they've done a lot of work within the municipality. I was just concerned, again, as you know, we're getting into this one submission. That's where my concerns lie.
Before I come to you, Councillor Verbicki, were you raising your hand? No? Okay. Deputy Mayor?
I just wanted to say I'm really glad to see this happening. It's been however many years that folks down there really didn't have legal ingress and egress on that road, and now we're back to business as usual. And I realize it was a cautionary step in the first place after the big flood, but I'm glad to see it back to normal.
Councillor Verbicki would like to move the recommendation, okay? Supported by Councillor Jacobs. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor? And carried. Next item on the agenda is regarding the RFQ results for Chestnut Street and Poplar. Alan?
Thank you. And Lucy, if you could show the map, that would be helpful, I think. So if you could refer to the map provided on page 57 of the agenda, you'll see some properties that are shaded, and you'll see a yellow line crossing the page, and on the left is Poplar Street and Chestnut. So the purpose of this report is to recommend that a contractor to grout this old combined sewer that runs between Poplar and Chestnut cross country. You'll see on that map also that Poplar and Chestnut were reconstructed in about 1980, and during that construction they provided new sanitary and storm sewers in the area, so that the sewer that's highlighted in yellow became obsolete. And during the construction, the reconstruction of Poplar and Chestnut Streets, in addition to the mainline storm and sanitary, we also provided connections to the property lines. And again, the aging sewer that's between the two streets through private property was never really properly abandoned. It's still open. And now we find that the owner, it's in process of rebuilding a house at 27 Chestnut that was burned. Sort of prompted us to look at the sewer again and note that we really should abandon it properly by grouting it and filling that void, so we don't have to worry about sinkholes or subsidence or anything like that under the homes. And the best way to do that in this case is to grout it or fill it with concrete. So on August 29th, we did receive 2 tenders for this work to provide for mobilization, traffic control, grouting of the sewer, and capping of the existing combined sewer at the downstream manhole. And we did receive, our low bidder was Demore Construction for just over $21,000. I think it's important to note that prior to letting this tender, we did a bit of an investigation, and we contacted each of the properties in the area, and we visually saw that each of the properties are connected to the new sanitary sewer, so we're not leaving them without a connection. And we will also notify them again of the upcoming project ahead of time, so that they're aware of what we're doing in the area. Again, we estimate the project to be just over $21,000. This is an unbudgeted capital project, so we are recommending that the works are funded from the infrastructure reserve account, which is designated for sewer works. And as we noted in the report, it has an estimated 2016 year-end balance of just over $5 million. So we are recommending the council award this project to Demore Construction, and again, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into the contracts.
Councillor Verbicki?
Where the mayor, they are filling the whole void or just the void under 27? They're filling the whole abandoned sewer?
We will be grouting the entire length
I
of the
don't like the
sewer.
word grouting. I kept thinking ceramic tile all the time, so.
We will be filling the entire length of the sewer.
And how's that happening? You've got access on the one property where he's building, so are you just pumping it through to each end? Is that?
The plan is to open the sewer at both ends, the east and west end, and then open it in the alley in the middle, and then using a pumping truck, pump the grout through the sewer.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Verbicki, supported by Councillor Jacobs. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. Next item on the agenda is one regarding the Setrington Lane drain. And there's an addendum to that as well. So, Luann? Pardon? Oh, Ruth, I'm sorry. I'm just so used to having, yes.
Yes, I know. It's been a long time with this drain that we've been working with it. The purpose of the report is to bring this council up to date as to the history in order to bring forward the bylaw for the third and final reading. So I won't go through the whole entire background, I'll just hit the highlights. But back in December 2009, the municipality received a signed petition pursuant to Section 4 of the Drainage Act from landowners in part of lots 1 and 2, concession 3, and that was a request for drainage. In March of 2010, Council appointed Dillon Consulting to prepare a preliminary drainage report. That report was prepared and brought forward, as well as the actual engineer's report, throughout 2014 and 2015. And in May 2015, Bylaw 47915 was read a first and second time, provisionally adopting the engineer's report. An appeal to the Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs Appeal Tribunal, what we usually call the Drainage Tribunal, was submitted by Griffin Automation, who was one of the assessed landowners, and that was also in May 2015. Griffin Automation also appealed its assessment to the Court of Revision, where that appeal was dismissed, and that dismissal was also appealed to the Drainage Tribunal. The matter was heard in November 2015. A second assessed owner, Bernetta Farms, also participated in the hearing. The hearing lasted 2 days, and the tribunal granted the appeal in its decision in February 2016. That decision required the engineer to amend the report, and that was done, and the amended report was submitted to the municipality in April 2016. There were some inquiries to the tribunal related to one particular section of the amended report. The tribunal clarified its decision, and the amended report, further amended through the clarification by the tribunal, was provided in July 2016. There were no appeals to that report to the tribunal, which indicated that appeals could only be submitted based on the amendments, so there were no appeals to that. So in accordance with the decision of the tribunal, there's no further public meetings of council or courts of revision. Following the passing of the bylaw, or it's being read a third and final time, the engineer will prepare the tender documents. There are no direct costs to the municipality in connection with this project. You'll note that there's been a breakdown of the costs included in the report. The total costs are $214,555. That's a decrease from the original costs of $226,735. All parcels with a farm tax class designation are entitled to the 1/3 infrastructure grant. The municipality has been funding the engineering costs of the project for the past few years. As there are sufficient funds in the 2016 drainage budget, the project can proceed this month, and the costs will be allocated to the account as indicated in the report. So the recommendation is that the bylaw 47915 be read a third and final time this evening.
Thank you very much. We do have a delegation tonight, but are there any questions from council to Ms. Orton? Councilor Wilkinson?
Thank you, Your Worship. Ruth, earlier today, I extended a question one of the affected landowners had, Mr. Murney, who's here tonight. I'm just wondering if I could ask you that question again, and maybe you could address Mr. Murney. And Don, if I misrepresent your thoughts here in what I say next, please correct me afterwards. I think you're a delegate here tonight. So, the question I asked Ruth today, which I thought was his concern here, is his concern was he thought the engineering costs, the estimate associated with the berm was high. The tribunal had noted that it should be lower, which I brought the tribunal with me here tonight on page 11 and 12. That tribunal estimates the engineering portion, the average in Ontario, should be about 24% of the entire project. If I'm looking at the math here correctly, this is about 45% of the total cost. 45% of that is the engineering fees of the whole project. Don has told me that he can't, it's only an estimate right now. The work gets done. He can't appeal this anymore. It's only a municipality that can appeal this once the work has been done. I think Mr. Murney, what he wants to stress here is, I think he's happy now that the tribunal has happened and there's kind of an end to all this is finally going to happen. But I think what he really wants to stress here is that we are very vigilant going forward. He thinks that the engineering costs are high, and he wants us to make sure. He thinks that there's room for savings in that. One thing that he did mention to me that he thinks is driving this engineering cost up so high is the supervision that has been attached to this project in the engineering stage. That was his concern that he passed on to me here today, and I'm wondering if you can relay that back to Don.
The tribunal noted that the costs, in their decision, noted that the costs were high. They simply noted that. They didn't indicate that the costs were too high or extraordinarily high, other than to say that the average engineering costs in the province were approximately 24%, and that the costs of the noted in the original report that they had before it were at about 35%. What the costs incorporate currently are the costs over 7 years of meetings with landowners, meetings with administration, 2 days of tribunal hearings, time and preparation of those tribunal hearings, and amendments in part to the report. There was one portion where the tribunal actually indicated that the engineer was not to charge for that specific portion of the amendment. So today, to say that costs are high, yes, they may be higher than the provincial average, but for this particular project, I don't know that they're actually high, given the amount of time. Mr. Murney is correct, and Mr. Councillor Wilkinson is correct, that the only appeal to the actual final account of the engineer can be launched by the municipality. And what I indicated is, although the municipality has been paying the invoices as they become due, and what I indicated also is that administration will always review those invoices to ensure that they're accurate and appropriate. However, if a final account is received and there are grounds, reasonable grounds in the opinion of administration that that account should be appealed, that we would bring that forward to council for consideration at that time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Ms. Horton, from council? Okay, so Mr. Murney is here. I don't know whether your questions have already been asked and answered, or... Oh.
No, I didn't say that before.
Anyway, sorry, the other thing, and I understand what Ms. Orton is saying, one of the things that the engineer told me in one of our conversations was that he had put in a lot of extra engineering fees in there for his time for supervision because this was such a contentious project, and I understand that. And what I've told the engineers, and I think what I've tried to get across to administration and to council, is that once this is done, it's done. I understand the issues from previous property owners on my side. They're not going to be an issue. We really don't need extra supervision. We can all behave like big boys, and if the trucks have to come on the property, the trucks come on the property. I'm not going to be out there every day saying you moved a piece of, let's just all be reasonable. There doesn't need to be extra supervision. If it's a way of reducing engineering costs, great. There's not going to be any problems from my side, and I'm sure there's not going to be from Mr. Bernato's side.
Okay, very good. Good to hear. Ms. Orton?
I believe Luann has a comment.
Oh, okay.
I just want to clarify that. I'm not sure what he means by extra supervision, but because it is an engineering project, the engineer inspector will be on site full-time. So that's probably the increased cost. Normally, we don't have, if it's a bridge construction, they come in phases, but when it's an entire project like this, we'll have the inspector out the entire time.
I think the point that's being made here
Was extra.
is just for us to be vigilant on making sure that we're not overdoing it when it doesn't need to be overdone. And I think that's the point being made, and I think we're all hearing the same comments, and I know that's what we try to do every day in our jobs here. So, but I thank you very much. Thanks for being so patient on this one too. So there is a motion before us. What are council's wishes? Moved by Councillor Jacobs, supported by Councillor Hammond. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. Next item on the agenda is a report regarding the Essex Power Corporation appointment of proxy holders. Ms. Percy?
So the report before council this morning is to appoint a proxy holder for the 2016 annual meeting of shareholders. The municipality of Leamington, together with Tecumseh, LaSalle, and Amherstburg, are shareholders of Essex Power Corporation. Essex Power is required to hold an annual meeting of the shareholders and occasionally requires a special meeting of shareholders. Leamington's two directors appointed to the board are Mayor John Patterson and Mr. Frank Ricci, who vote on behalf of the municipality at board meetings, but that appointment does not authorize them to vote on behalf of the municipality at a shareholders meeting. In order for council to cast its shareholders' vote at a shareholders' meeting, it's by proxy. It's suggested that council appoint Mayor Patterson as the proxy holder to vote on behalf of the municipality at the 2016 shareholders' general meeting. It's also suggested that Mr. Frank Ricci be appointed as an alternate proxy holder if Mayor Patterson is absent from the meeting. Since a proxy is not valid for more than 1 year, the appointment needs to be made annually, and the shareholders' meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September the 28th. So the recommendation before council is that Mayor John Patterson be appointed as the proxy holder for the municipality of Leamington to cast its shareholders' votes at Essex Power Corporation's 2016 shareholder annual meeting, that Frank Ricci be appointed as the alternate proxy holder in the event that Mayor Patterson is absent from the meeting, and the clerk be authorized to sign and forward to Essex Power all necessary proxy forms to implement the resolution.
Wow. Deputy Mayor moves, supported by Councillor Hammond. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. And then the final report is, again, regarding Essex Power Corporation Board of Directors appointment. Ms. Percy.
So, once again, Essex Power Corporation shareholders are with Amherstburg, LaSalle, Tecumseh, and Leamington, and each municipality appoints 2 representatives to the board, one being a member of council and the other being a non-elected appointee. Essex Power Corporation has requested that a municipal shareholders' appointment of their non-elected appointees be for a term of 4 years, and it's the board's policy to stagger that appointment between that appointee and the council appointee. That ensures there's a continuity for the board throughout the election period. Leamington's 2 directors appointed to the Essex Corporation Board are the Mayor and Mr. Ricci, and Mr. Ricci's appointment expires November 30th, 2016. Mr. Ricci is a solicitor in a Leamington law firm and has served on the board since 2000 as the non-elected appointee. On November 12, 2012, administration was directed to advertise for the applicants to fill for the vacancy, and council subsequently appointed Mr. Ritchie to that, from that application process. I've contacted Mr. Ritchie, and he's advised that he'd be prepared to continue to serve for another 4-year term if council chooses to appoint him. And the alternative to appointing Mr. Ritchie would be to direct administration to advertise to fill the vacancy through the paper and the website and bring back the applicants for council to consider. There's no financial impact to the municipality as the board members' remuneration is paid by the board. So the recommendation before council is actually option A or B. Option A being Mr. Ritchie be appointed to the Essex Power Corporation Board of Directors as Leamington's non-elected appointee for the term commencing December 1st, 2016 to November 30th, 2018, and that he be appointed to the board as Leamington's non-elected appointee for the term commencing December 1st, 2018 to November 30th, 2020, and that would be conditional upon the appointment being endorsed by Leamington's Municipal Council, which would take place in the next term. Or the other option would be that administration is directed to advertise for the position and for that term extending December 1st, 2016 to November 30th, 2020.
So, questions? Moved by Councillor Jacobs. Supported by Councillor Brupicky. And question?
Yeah, I like option A, section B.
Yeah, Councillor Jacobs, we just want to know which option it is that you were moving. Two. Can you just read it real quickly for him?
Okay, so for the first option, option A, would appoint Mr. Ritchie as the non-elected appointment to the board, and it would, the term, the 4-year term is split into two. So this would be for December 1st to 2016 to November 30th, 2018, and then that he be appointed again for the next 2 years, but again, that's conditional upon it being confirmed by the new council. And then the other option is that council direct administration to advertise for applicants and bring back recommendation.
Option A. Okay.
I won't be supporting option A.
Okay, but it has been moved and seconded. So Larry did second it, but he's not in favor of it. He seconded it to get it on the floor. So option A is that he's appointed for the 2 years and also for the following 2 years? Subject to the new council's approval. Yes. Peter.
Let me try and simplify this. Option A essentially says, don't bother spending the money and running an advertisement for other applicants because we are satisfied and would like to appoint Frank Ricci back for the 2 years, followed by 2 more years, provided that the new council will agree. The second option is, no, go out, run an ad, let's see who else applies, and then we'll determine it at that point. That's really what it comes down to.
So really, the only question is, you just want to have Frank sit there for another 4 years and work on the board on our behalf. Deputy Mayor?
I will certainly vote for that because I had asked for us to put out an ad and it was a waste of time and it was a waste of money. And the fact that Frank brings to the table all those years of experience, it speaks volumes. If you're away, he can make a decision based on what he's known for the last 16 years. So for us to waste our time and our money on running ads, no.
It already is seconded, unless you've withdrawn. Anyway, so the motion is on the floor to appoint Mr. Frank Ricci as our non-elected representative on the Board of Essex Power. All those in favor? And carried. Matters for approval, there were none listed, so we have other matters for consideration. That Leamington's tax levy due dates be established in 2 installments for October 31st, 2016, November 30th, 2016, for supplementary assessment notices issued on or about September 13th, 2016, under Sections 33 and 34 of the Assessment Act. Council's wishes. I know none of us like to pay taxes, but moved by the Deputy Mayor, supported by Councillor Hammond. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? And carried. There was no closed session to report on, so we do have consideration of bylaws, and Ms. Percy.
By bylaw 479-15 being a bylaw to provide for the Sutterington Lane Drain, a new petition in lots 1 and 2, concession 3 in the municipality of Leamington. This is for third and final reading. Bylaw 5416 was withdrawn with the report earlier. Bylaw 5516 being a bylaw to provide for a maintenance schedule of assessment for the Sun Parlor Drain in the municipality of Leamington. This is for first and second reading. And bylaw 5616 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held September 12th, 2016.
Council's wishes, moved by Councillor Dunn, support by Councillor Jacobs. Discussion on the motion. All in favor? Carried. Where would we go? Notices of motion, there were none circulated, so we're into open session for council and administration. Councillor Hammond.
Your worship, thank you.
Not at the hockey arena.
As the library labor dispute enters, I believe it's its 80th day, I don't know what more that we can do as a council other than guarantee our support and trying to get you back on the job. But I will commend you on your stalwartness and your conviction to your beliefs, and to stay out 80 days. I really hope that things work out in your favor at the end of this, and I congratulate you on your strength. Thank you.
Councillor Dunn.
Through you, Your Worship, I just wanted to say that we attended the Mexican Independence Day on Sunday, and it was a really well turned out. They were using the bike pass, according to Councillor Wilkinson, and it was really well attended. I'm really impressed with the fact that it was held at the Roma Club. I think it was a better venue. It was out in front, and more people partaked in it, and I just really enjoyed it. I enjoy it every year. The food was good, and I think more people should join it and come out.
Councillor Verbeke.
For the Mayor, thank you. There was yourself, Councillor Dunn, and myself, and of course our Economic Development Officer, September the 2nd, greeting the delegation from, and oh yeah, Peter was there too.
Deputy Mayor too.
And Hilda, oh yeah, sorry. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't come on the tour afterwards. I knocked you out there. Anyway, it was a great. I'm glad they came out. It was basically an agriculture tour in this area. So thanks to Janine for doing that. The Malmo, Sweden, they have a population of 330,000 people. We did tour the Greenhouse Marketing Board, and they did get to answer some of their questions at OGVG, and then we did tour a greenhouse on the 9th concession, and they were really enlightened how we grow and how they can taste the different with the different ingredients, how the tomato does become sweeter and stuff too. So it was a great turnout. It was hot in there, but it was good.
Very good. Admin? Nothing? No. Then really quickly, I actually had a couple of those things already listed. The Swedish delegation that was here, and also the Fiestas Patrias. As it was, yeah, I know. I'm probably not even saying it right either. But it was really, really well run, and I thank our Consul General for treating us with such respect at that whole event. Also on September the 2nd, I had the honor of attending Erie Glen Manor and presenting a certificate on behalf of council and the administration in the town, actually, to a former employee of my grandfather's, as I found out, my grandfather's, my dad's, and mine. So Tina Longland Bell turned 100 years of age this past weekend, so it was pretty awesome. And also, it's just a little bit of good news that we did have a bit of a success at County Council for once from Leamington, and we'll be seeing some money coming into our economic development budget shortly as a refund from, yeah, well, anyway. So, if there's nothing else, then are there statements of members non-debatable? If not, then motion to adjourn. Councillor Dunn beat you, but you can second it. Councillor Jacobs, all in favor? And carried.